Okay, in the first question, uh, first of all, we know that there is a friction between two solid surfaces because of interlocking. This solid and this solid surface, bottom surface of this block and top surface of this ground, they are interlocked like this. And how hard they are pressed against each other will determine how nicely they are interlocked. So the friction depends on the normal reaction there. So we know that the friction force exists between two solid surfaces. Same with liquid also. Okay, actually, for example, if we pour some oil on a very still water like this, the oil layer and water layer will have friction between them because of the intermolecular force of attraction. Another example might be there is a ground and the honey flows, and when the honey flows, the velocities of different layers are different. For example, this will flow, the bottommost layer will flow slower, and this will flow faster and faster and faster. So there is a friction between any two layers of liquids also. And in gases also the same thing. If there are like different gas here and different gas here, because of intermolecular force of attraction between two layers, same as in liquid, there is a friction force in gases also. So option number D is correct for this question. In this question, a boy is pushing the box from right to left. External force is in this direction. The block tries to move in that direction. And we know the friction force is always opposite to the relative velocity. If the block is moving in that direction, the friction force will be in this direction. So the answer for this question should be from left to right. This is left and this is right, so left to right is the friction force. So option number B should be the correct answer for this question. So in this question, there is a block and two boys A and B are shown by applying the force on block. If the block moves towards right, if the block moves towards right, then the force applied by A has to be higher than force applied by B. I'll call this as FA and this is FB. So FA has to be higher than FB. So magnitude of force applied by A has to be greater than that of B. So option number A is correct. In this question, it is said that the bulb in setup A glows more brightly as compared to that of setup B. So there has to be higher current in A than compared to B. Because if the current is higher, then the heat dissipation is higher. We have the formula H is equal to I square RT. So heat is proportional to I square. So more current means more heat, and more heat means it will glow more brightly. So option number A is correct because higher current is flowing through circuit in setup A because A is glowing more brightly. So 13th answer is A. Okay, the sound is actually the vibration of air columns inside the bamboo. Basically the sound is, if this is air, the air molecules, if you focus on this part, this molecule, it will vibrate like this. All the air molecules will vibrate like this, and that will create a wave. So basically sound is nothing but a vibration of air. So that's why option number A is correct in this question. So sound is produced because of air is vibrating inside the bamboo. Sound is nothing but the wave created due to air. So how the air particles are vibrating at their mean position creates a wave. Air doesn't have to travel, it just has to vibrate. The disturbance will travel. For example, if some persons are like this, and for example this person jumps, then what will happen? Let us say this person jumps now, and finally this person jumps. So as you can see, there was no disturbance first of all, then there was a disturbance here, then it was here, then it was here. So disturbance is traveling, the persons are not traveling. Same way the wave is created when the air molecules vibrate. So sound is vibration of air inside the bamboo. Uh, Now, yeah, so the sound is produced not by change in direction. The basic fundamental reason is vibration of air only. So A is the correct answer. So in 18th question, we already know that the pressure will be higher as the depth from the surface increases, or the height from the surface increases. So height of C or depth of C is more than depth of B, and depth of B is more than depth of A, and this is called as dB, dC and dA. If you know the pressure is rho g d, where d is the depth from the top, so that means the pressure at C should be higher than pressure at B, should be higher than pressure at A. So C is higher than B than A, so option number D is correct. So in this question, the current will flow if the ions are created after dissolving in the water, and the ions will flow, like positive ion will flow in negative terminal to negative terminal, and negative ion will flow to positive terminal. For example, if you dissolve sodium chloride, it will split up into Na plus and Cl minus, and Na plus will flow towards the negative terminal and Cl minus will flow towards the positive terminal, like this. AgNO3 will also split up in Ag plus and NO3 minus, and CuSO4 will also split up in Cu plus 2 and SO4 minus 2. But the sugar solution doesn't split, so no ions are created in sugar solution. So the ions are not there to move, so there is no current. So option number D is correct answer. The bulb will not glow for the option number D. So in this 10th question, the answer is CuSO4, because the copper is coming from here and being deposited here. So we need copper first of all in the solution. So it has to be Cu++ inside the solution, and to balance it out, SO4 minus 2 should be there. So CuSO4 is the answer. Now what is happening is, copper, at the copper plate was happening, Cu is becoming Cu plus 2 and losing 2 electrons. Now these 2 electrons are taken up by this positive terminal. It will remain positive because it is positive enough. So it will just take up electrons, and electrons will just go like that. It won't be a negative plate because already we are applying a higher positive potential here. So that thing will happen here. And here what is happening at this plate, it is a negative terminal, so electrons will taken up by the Cu plus 2, and plus 2 electrons, it will become Cu, and it will deposit on the iron rod. You know, the Cu plus will move in that direction as expected, because current will move from positive and negative terminal. So positive charges like copper plus 2 ion will move in that direction. It will leave from here and it will come and deposit here. So CuSO4 is the answer, which is option number A. So option number A is correct for this question. So in this question, there is an inclined plane, and this is the load, and it is being pulled up the inclined plane. This is the inclined plane, so it might make some angle theta with horizontal. So what forces we need to overcome to pull this up? So when it is sliding over the surface, there has to be some frictional force. There has to be a gravitational force also, which is acting downwards, and there is a normal force also which is acting upwards. This is the gravitational force mg, and we have to write this as the normal force n. So the first one says a non-contact force. The gravitational force is non-contact force. If it is in a contact with earth or not doesn't matter. It's not in contact with earth right now. This is the earth or ground. So yes, the first one is true, non-contact force, which is gravitational force. We have to overcome that while pulling it up, because the gravity is acting downwards, we are pulling it upwards. So correct. The second one is gravitational force. That itself is a non-contact force here, so that is also correct. And the third one is the frictional force. You can see from the diagram, friction is acting in opposite direction of this external force, which we call capital F, let us say. So we have to overcome that also. So all the three, that means option number D is correct. In this question, what are the units used to measure pressure? So we know the SI unit of pressure is Pascal, so the second one is correct. And the third one is, we know the formula for pressure is force by area. The unit of force is Newton and area is meter square. So Newton per meter square is the correct unit. So third one is also correct and second one is correct. And the first one is not correct because it should be Newton per meter square and not kilogram per meter square. Kilogram per meter square is not same as Newton per meter square because kilogram and newtons are different. So one first can't be the correct. So second and third only is the correct. So option number B says that. So B is the correct answer. Now in this question, the speeds in x and y and z is given to you. 1412 here, meter per second. This is 332 meter per second. And for z it is 5002 meter per second. For y we clearly know it is air, and the speed of sound increases as we go from gas to liquid to solid. So this has to be, x has to be liquid, so it can be water if you see the options, and water or alcohol, we are not sure, but if you know the value it's water, but even if you don't know we can do this. Now the z has to be steel because the speed is high, 5002, so it has to be steel. So y is air and z is steel, so that gives us the C option. We are sure that z has to be steel. It has to be solid because it has very high speed in that z part, z material. So from the options we can see that C is the correct answer because z is steel there and y is air as expected, and x is water. So C is the correct answer. So in this question, which of the following helps to increase the friction? So if the surfaces are rough, obviously the friction will increase. Fixing wheels to object will decrease the friction. That's why we use bearing balls to reduce the friction. The second one is not correct. Now third one is correct because if we increase the weight, the friction will increase. Because if there is a lighter book or notebook and there is a very heavy book, which one is hard to move? The heavier is hard to move because its weight is higher. Weight is higher means the pressing force is higher. The pressing force is higher, the interlocking between the book surface and the ground surface is much better. That's why the friction will depend upon the weight also. So 1 and 3 should be the answer, and so C is the correct answer. In this question, there are two cubes, one of side x and another cube is of side 4x. So if this is exerting pressure P, how much pressure will that exert? So we know the pressure is the force exerted by this cube on the ground upon area. So the force exerted will be its mass into acceleration due to gravity, basically its weight. The weight is the magnitude of force exerted by this block on ground. In reality the block is like this and the weight is the Earth's force on this block, and this is the weight, and this is the normal reaction on block due to ground, and that is the action actually. That if the ground is exerting normal reaction on the block will also exert some normal reaction on the ground. That will be the normal reaction on ground due to block. These are action-reaction pairs. Normal reaction means if the two surfaces are in contact, how hard they are pressed against each other. So basically if you think about ground is experiencing a force due to this block in downward direction, right? So that is the normal reaction, and these normal reactions are same. That means if you think about the block is also experiencing a force due to this surface in upward direction. So that's the normal reaction, and the thing is this weight is equal to this normal, and this normal is equal to this normal. So weight is just mg, all three are same basically, and we are interested in this force actually, and it's equal to mg, because I can just write W is equal to NBG is equal to NGB, and you know weight is mg. So yeah, it's mg. Okay, and upon area, the area of the surface of contact is x square, because you see the side is x, so x square will be the area at the bottom. Fine, and I can just write this mass here as density into volume. Volume is x cube, so density into volume into g by x square. Now in this case the pressure will be what? This mass. Now this mass will be rho into 4x whole cube, because the volume will be 4x whole cube now here, into g upon area will be what? 4x square, because 4x is the side, so the square of the side is area. So this will become rho x cube by x square into g, and this will be 4 cube by 4 square. So basically it comes out to be p dash is equal to, what is this? This is p. And what is 4 cube by 4 square? It is 4. So p into 4. So the answer will be 4p in the second case. So option number C is correct for this question. In this question, a water tank has 4 taps A, B, C, D. The water will flow out at the same pressure from the taps at what? We know that if the points are at the same height from the top, it will have the same pressure. So you can clearly see that B and C points are at the same height from the top, so they will have the same pressure when the water will flow out of the tap. So option number A is correct.